Hello, everyone, and welcome back. We begin again where we left off last time at the beautiful New Moynihan Train Hall in New York City. I had been, of course, enjoying the wonderful cuisine, which again is offered free to all passengers, first class passengers that can utilize the hall, as well as the beautiful architecture this particular hall possesses. I'm certain that Mr. Kazat, the president of the Pennsylvania Railroad, who presided over the construction of the original 1910 built Penn Station, would have looked upon this facility with a smile. Unfortunately and tragically, he would die before the 1910 opening of the original Penn Station. With the aid of the beautiful Metropolitan Lounge and, of course, the Moynihan Train Hall, it was soon, before I know it, time for me to board my train, 97, which would take me to Orlando, Florida. One important and interesting note: the Moynihan Train Hall does in fact have its own paths down to the platforms of the original Penn Station, which is where you will board your train from. There's no need to go to Penn Station to get on the train. As you can see from this footage, as I got on an escalator and made my way down, the Silver Meteor will be departing from platform number 11 and or track number 11, the one on the right. Passengers should proceed to track 12. The reason for what would at least appear to be a common sense statement on my behalf, of where I noted that there was actually a way of getting to the platforms of Penn Station from the Moynihan Train Hall, since it is in fact the same facility, is that I would run into a very annoying problem at this point. Several passengers would begin to go against me from the flow of traffic. This indicates that they were coming from Penn Station. It's not clear to me as to what happened. I never actually got an answer as to what happened here, as I didn't actually have time. My best guess is there were a bunch of passengers boarding the train that had no idea that Moynihan Train Hall existed and went down here, or, more likely, B, several passengers taking the train to Florida were basically misadvised to go to Penn Station instead of actually boarding from the Moynihan Train Hall, and or were in the Moynihan Train Hall and directed over to Penn Station to get the train. Whenever the case, this made for a highly annoying situation, as the narrow platforms meant I had to bob and weave my way from oncoming traffic, if you will, in order to make my way to the sleeping car section of the train, which is toward the back. And because the Moynihan Train Hall is placed on the opposite end of the train, well, it made things even worse. An interesting detail about Amtrak's long-distance trains is that they operate with Amfleet 2 coaches, not the Amfleet 1 I was taking earlier down from Hudson to New York City. The main differences are these larger windows and the fact that the coaches themselves have one door at each end. Please note you won't see that in this particular set of cars that we're coming to right now, as the second coach here is a cafe. All Amfleet cafes have doors on either end and are used on both long-distance and short-distance trains. Finally, and at long last, after what seemed like a long and drawn-out hike, I finally arrived at the Viewliner section of the Silver Meteor, which is essentially where first-class sleeping car passengers ride. The first car we see on our right is the Viewliner Diner. All first-class passengers have their meals included and therefore can dine in this car for free. It is open to the coach car passengers as well, as far as I know at the current time, but you will have to pay separately, as coach car passengers do not have their meals included with the trip. The cafe car we saw earlier is meant to service them for the most part, as it offers very sort of quick service meals, if you will, at a lower price. And finally, into my unbounded relief, my long drawn-out hike comes to a close, as I have finally reached the Viewliner 2 sleeping cars. And here's my sleeping car. Car number 9710. Now this might sound like gobbledygook to the uninitiated Amtrak traveler, so I'll translate. 97 is the train number, the southbound Silver Meteor, and the car of the train is 10. Your sleeping car number, if you're staying in a sleeping car, will be noted on your ticket. It's important to note the number, as you will need this to identify which car you're staying in. Please note that 9710 is only the number that identifies its position in terms of this particular train. Amtrak officially identifies this car as 62506, the other number we saw just before. And what a surprise, it's a Viewliner 2 coach. These are an updated variation of the original Viewliner 1, featuring a more luxurious wooden paneling throughout, and more up-to-date interiors in general. I'll go over the specific differences a little later on. Amtrak offers two types of sleeping accommodations in its Viewliner coaches. They are bedrooms and roomettes. The roomette is the lower-end accommodation, a little bit more compact, while the bedroom is a full-on accommodation, offering an ensuite bathroom, as some go to the extreme of referring to it as. Essentially, it's a shoilet, a shower combined with a toilet. I'm going to be staying in a bedroom, bedroom B to be precise, which is what I'm entering now.
Well, that would work better if that would get through. Alrighty. Yeah, I was not expecting the Viewliner 2 car. Not complaining either, but that is quite an upgrade. Okay. There we go. Let's see if we get this all set up here. Oh, God.
Pay no attention to the train geek struggling with his camera mount. I repeat, pay no attention to the train geek struggling with his camera mount. And yes, I did buy myself one of those crazy camera mounts that mounts to the window and lets you take really good shots from out the window, apparently. Although I wouldn't know because I couldn't get mine to work correctly. No matter what I did, I just couldn't get the angle. Perhaps maybe it didn't like my specific camera, which is a Canon, by the way. Whatever the case, I finally would wind up settling for the somewhat primitive but very successful method of simply placing the camera on top of my camera case and aiming it out the window.
Alright, yeah, this is not gonna be
Attention please, passengers, this is your sleeping car attendant Dave. Pay attention please, this is Dave, your sleeping car attendant. Welcome aboard. I believe I did have a chance to talk to everyone. I'll be coming through here shortly. With your ticket included, your meals are included. You'll get dinner tonight. We'll have a breakfast and lunch tomorrow. Lunch will be the final meal for passengers going into South Florida, etc. There should be a menu in their room. We do have a dining car. We have socially distanced tables for your safety in the dining car. You can eat in the dining car if you wish. We will start at 5 o'clock. Dinner will start at 5 o'clock. I'll be coming through here shortly taking pre-orders. Last call is 8:30 tonight. Again, there should be a menu in your room. Again, there is will be room for the dining car if you wish, where you can eat it in your room. You can pick it up.
And as that announcement just stated, essentially, Amtrak now has what they call the flexible menu system, if you will. Essentially, what this means is that you can have your meal in the dining car as always, or eat it right in your sleeping compartment. We are currently in the tunnel that heads out toward New Jersey, passing, I believe, under the Hudson River. Needless to say, because there is not much to see here, I'm going to be editing a lot of this out.
Out into New Jersey. Already outside the tunnels. That was a bit rough. Tried to start. Really be cool if I could
Many of you out there in YouTube land that saw my previous vlog and or were long time members to my channel remember the previous vlog I did to Florida in 2019. In that trip, I revealed I had major cell phone issues and I wasn't playing around. I actually had 2 cell phones with me this time, just to make sure I wouldn't run into headaches. Admittedly, one was from that last trip, and with the pandemic on and all kinds of theories being spun wild by the media, internet going down and having people isolated from everybody and civilization and everything else, I decided to hang on to it as an emergency standby. It did come in handy as a Wi-Fi hotspot, in particular on the train back, as that particular train for some reason didn't have Wi-Fi for most of the trip.
Okay, I am back. And enjoy the...
I've been having the darndest time trying to figure out what this apparently abandoned, I should say, swing bridge and the rail line that leads up to it actually served at one point. If anyone has any ideas, please feel free to post a comment in the video.
There's that interlocking thing, multi-levels. Keep forgetting what they call this area. Oh boy. Okay, I am back. Bit of a rough start today. I did not think I was going to have a Viewliner 2. I still have to get some things set up. Heading out right now toward New Jersey. Just came out of the tunnels. Whew. Anyway, that's basically set up the same way as a Viewliner 1, except with, well, much more modern, sort of funky looking style. As you saw with the earlier photos I've taken, there's a lot of wood grain trim here. Looks a little bit more upmarket as opposed to before, where it looked more sort of basic bargain basement. Again, it looks like all the good scenery is on the opposite side of the train, so I may have to look outside the other window for a while here to get some more interesting details for this trip here. Assuming that camera's catching pretty well. Anyway, I'll have to keep messing with that. But anyway, yeah, I am on the train. That new Metropolitan Lounge, as they've now referred to it again, it used to be Club Acela, is a dramatic improvement. That lunch was delicious. I had 2 of those chicken wraps. Unfortunately, the food on board the train, as I have heard, is not going to be much to lead. It's going to leave quite a bit to be desired. Essentially, it's a bunch of glorified TV dinners. The car attendant has already come around and said we can eat in the dining car or eat in our rooms, so I'll probably eat in the dining car. I mean, what the heck do you want to train for if you can't get the full experience? Anywho, that's basically it. First off, let's see Caucus after this is Newark.
For this next part, to compare and contrast the difference between the Viewliner 1-bedroom and the Viewliner 2-bedroom, I spliced in footage from my 2019 trip to Florida.
Okay, we made our first stop in Newark Penn Station. Not Pennsylvania Station in New York, but Newark. As in, we've moved a little bit since we started. I gotta give you a bit of a tour in this room. Here's the trash, as I'm disposing of an SD card holder thingy there. Much updated. Again, nice little wood grain cabinets. There's this door here. The other room I had last time had storage in here, and there's no water as I was hoping. There is, in fact, and that's another thing I gotta show you, there's actually a full-on toilet paper roll inside the bathroom. This is basically self-explanatory. The shower lights, the mirror lights. There's actually a thermostat to control the temperature in here. Although mine does not appear to be working at this moment. I'm going to have to ask about that. Yeah, this clearly doesn't work. That's nice. Charming. Ventilation controls are here. There's air coming out of here. It's just I don't have control over it. That's not a pleasant thing. That's not so great. I'll have to ask about that to see what's going on. Because this should allow me to change the temperature, and I can't. It's completely dead. That's not good. Well, anyway. Well, here we have the toilet bowl, an actual roll of toilet paper. Not the sort of thing they have put together. Shower controls. Again, this is the combination of both actual towels on the top there for taking a shower. Comfy. Does the trick. Very small and cozy, but it does the trick. There's actually a little bit more room in here than there was last time. This is the door to turn this into a suite, which I will not be using. And yeah, that's essentially what the room is. That part, there's also the push to call attendance button, the night light, the ceiling buttons. PA speaker on or off. On to turn it on. I guess I want to keep that on. Reading lights. Ventilation controls. I have this wide open. It is quite warm in here actually right now. I'm going to have to ask and see what's going on with that. I hope I'm not going to be this warm the whole night. There's the, of course, jump seat chair thing, which I plan to use later on, possibly. And it looks like that's basically it. Yep.
You must have on shoes at all times. Welcome aboard.
All passengers aboard and luggage stowed, we departed Newark and continued our trip down the Northeast Corridor.
Oh boy, I should have done that. Okay, I'll just bring you up here. Oh.
And now, through the miracle of modern video editing, we will skip ahead to Philadelphia. For the sake of keeping this video's length something resembling under control.
Philadelphia, the station stop, now arriving.
Platforms are back there. Ooh, the new SL sets around. I guess it's on a test run. I don't think it's in service yet. Switchers. P42 kind of standard over there. Both interesting work to be built up, but then again, there's some trains that come in here. We're, however, not going to change the diesel here. We're going all the way down to Washington and then switching to diesel. Now approaching Philadelphia. Cement mix runarounds. That's something I've never seen before. As we reconstructing these platforms, I guess. We're doing something with it. We're fixing them at least.
And again, through the miracle of modern video editing, we will skip ahead to Washington, D.C. and a good shot of the Amtrak locomotive maintenance facility, just outside the area.
Coming into Washington, D.C. now. Coachyard, the engine shop back there. An older Acela train set back there. Parked. cool Viewliner set here, along with a Superliner. There's K Tower, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, that is definitely K Tower. Ooh, there's a Mark engine over here. Right there. There's an unmarked train pulling in right here. Coming to a stop now in Washington, D.C. The Solo's stopped up there. That seems to always be where they depart from. Okay, this is the stretch stop, and I'm going to head out there and do it. There's the air being let off, and the second the power should go out here. And I'm going to go stretch my legs, because I've been sitting here for a few hours.
Needless to say, and like the majority of my fellow passengers, I felt like I needed to stretch, and that's understandable. It had been 4 or 5 hours since New York City. And so I ventured off the train to look around and watch the locomotives get swapped. This being Washington, D.C., a regular smoke stop/rest stop for the Silver Meteor as it moves its way down to Florida. The reason for the locomotive swap is that all tracks from this point southward are not electrified, and also incidentally owned by CSX, whereas the Northeast Corridor we've been traveling on is in fact owned by Amtrak.
These are Amtrak ones. These are the doors on both sides.
On my way back to the train, I would run into another interesting sight. The private car, Beach Grove, which is an Amtrak Amfleet car with essentially a platform on the back, was in Washington, D.C. station that day. Must have been on some sort of excursion, as I couldn't really see from the distance I was. Nonetheless, it was interesting to catch sight of it. The last time I had seen it was back in 2014, I believe it was, on the AEM 7 farewell.
Okay, we're heading back toward the train. Got a note on the Amfleet 2 cars. Door on either end. Amfleet 1 cars. Rather, like two, one door on each end. Amfleet 1's just a door on either end. Again, door on either end. Door on each end. Same design other than that, except for slightly larger windows and curtains on the windows. Here's the dining car.
And not long after reboarding the train, it was my dinner call, and so I made my way to the dining car to enjoy what meal the train would offer. But first, let's do a quick walkthrough of the train. The wood paneling of the Viewliner 2 coaches really sticks out compared to the drabness of the Viewliner 1 coaches. We'll see what I'm talking about in just a second, as this train still has one of those on board. And here it is. As we can see, there's a lot of white plastic paneling everywhere. It looks noticeably more dull and, well, more worn out. It's not clear as to whose genius idea it was to make this interior white, as, well, white is very good at attracting dirt, and considering the abuse these trains take, it was not a very wise decision. This was most likely a major factor, if not the factor, for the dark faux wood paneling on the new Viewliner 2 sleeping cars. The sleeping section of this train is composed of, again, 3 Viewliner sleepers, the 1 Viewliner 2 I'm in, the Viewliner 1 bracketing the 2 of them, and 1 more Viewliner 2 followed by a baggage car.
So it's strange, there are a few...
For now, let's proceed to the dining car for our dinner call. We also note the unique posters put up in all the Viewliner 2 coaches promoting Amtrak travels. And for those of you wondering how a person with disabilities that is wheelchair bound would travel on the train, well, you're looking at it. This is one of the specially designed wheelchair accessible rooms. As we can see, it has the toilet and sink mounted in the actual main part of the room, like the old school roomettes had.
We're in some kind of stop situation here. Proceeding down to dinner. There we go. And I guess I just
And here again is the Viewliner 2 Diner.
The chandeliers and the double windows, which are all Viewliners.
And here's the lovely meal I ordered, chicken marsala, and as we can see by the aluminum foil wrapping, it is very clearly a TV dinner. I don't think Gordon Ramsay would put this on his top 10 list of well-prepared meals.
Doesn't look too bad, but... so we can get on a train. I don't know, we'll just have to do. And
having put up with New York City cafeteria slop for most of my childhood, it wasn't the worst meal I had, but still, considering the fee I paid to get on this train, I wasn't exactly blown away, nor was I impressed.
I think this is dinner roll. Where's my dinner rolls? And my salad and my blondie. So, yeah.
After a, well, shall we say, somewhat underwhelming meal, I made my way back to my sleeping compartment to enjoy an evening of playing video games before I had my bed taken down. I arranged with my sleeping compartment attendant to have this done about 11 o'clock. Unfortunately, come 11 o'clock, he was nowhere to be found. This can get highly annoying as you essentially have to move everything out of the attendant's way in order for he or she to take the bed down. Finally, after pushing the call button for, I think it was 20 or 30 minutes, another gentleman appeared to take my bed down.
Okay, so it is now, what time is it? I don't even have a clock anymore. It is now somewhere past 11 o'clock at night. I've been on the go since about 11 o'clock since about 8 o'clock this morning when I got up. And it's time for me to say goodnight and, well, relax and sleep. I've had my bed made. It took a few attempts to get the bed taken down this night. I asked my sleeping car attendant. I'd asked him for midnight. Obviously, that was kind of late, so I said, okay, 11. And he agreed, and unfortunately, he never came to do it. Luckily, I found another sleeping car attendant who was nice enough to do it for me. And anyway, so that's how I got it done. All's well that ends well, I guess. Whatever the case, it is now. My watch woke up again. Let's see what time it is. Oh, it is now after midnight already. It's time for me to go to bed. So anyway, I'll pick this up tomorrow. On the flip side, I've been informed by the other attendant that came in and did my bed that breakfast is open seating. Just come whenever you'd like, anywhere until 10 o'clock. And then lunch starts after that. I have to get an early lunch again because I get off the train earlier because I'm going to be arriving in Orlando around that time. Anywho, I'm going to sign off for tonight, and I'll catch you guys on the flip side.
And come morning, and after a decent sleep, I got up somewhere around 8 or 9 o'clock. I made my way to the dining car to enjoy my omelet, although it wasn't the usual omelet I'm used to having made to order. Once again, it was a pre-prepared omelet. It tasted decently well, but again, a big letdown compared to what I was used to. And unfortunately, speaking of letdowns, we would experience yet another one. The train suddenly ground to a halt somewhere just north of the Sunrail corridor area. That's where the new Sunrail commuter service operates the tracks. Apparently, a drawbridge over the St. John River had not quite closed completely, and this created a huge mess, requiring first a technician to repair the bridge to show up, as well as an actual inspector to inspect the bridge to ensure all was well. One positive out of the situation was I no longer had to rush through lunch, and this is what I had. The vegetarian burrito, I believe that was. Not the greatest thing. Once again, pre-prepared. Nothing much to see here, folks. Meanwhile, my fellow passengers and myself continued to wait at the bridge. It took about an hour and a half for the situation to be corrected so we could proceed, and unfortunately delays would continue from that point.
So as you can see, we are finally moving again. We're off that kind of uneven turn we were on, which had us on an angle. It was a bank turn for super elevation, and we're now coming across the bridge. It looks like it's on the St. John's River, according to that. Here's the bridge right now that we're going over. There's actually a pontoon boat sitting out here. This is the half-closed drawbridge we were waiting for, which is now of course closed, and we're going across it. At restricted speed. Here comes the boat down the river. Oh boy. Now we're back on dry land, and now we were supposed to arrive at Orlando at this time, right? Obviously it's going to be at least another hour and a half to go before we get there. But okay, it's not too big a deal. I can't check into my hotel again until, I think it is 4 o'clock, so not going to make much of a difference. Sometimes they'll have a room available early and let you check in early, but a lot of times you might have to wait, or you don't get a good room because you have to wait, because the early ones available for check-in usually aren't anything great. There's a reason why they're there. Anyway, I'll catch up with you as soon as I arrive in Orlando, which should be a while from now. Okay, we are now past the St. John's River and moving, if you will want to call it like that. Or want to call it that. We're only doing about 11 miles, and just kind of dragging our behinds on the carpet here, it seems. Yeah, definitely not making it on time. I was supposed to be in Orlando in 30 minutes. There's no way that's happening. Just curious, where the heck are we anyway?
We were south somewhere just north of Sanford by this point, moving along very slowly. The main reason for the delay now was that the drawbridge had of course backed traffic up, and if that wasn't bad enough, rush hour was approaching. This meant that we were now in the Sunrail commuter territory at the highest point of traffic, and again we were not priority traffic. This would mean another delay of roughly 1/2 hour on top of the original one that we experienced at the drawbridge. Well, there was at least one side benefit to my delay.
What do we have here? GB38, I think that is. Where's the? Oh, where's the 20?
And passing through Sanford, I managed to goof again, completely missing the actual Amtrak auto train facilities, which are on the opposite side of the train from where I was currently sitting.
Oh, there it is. It's on this side of the train. Good grief. Oh, boy. Of course I would miss that, wouldn't I? Yeah, I goofed there, didn't I?
Then, finally, after seemingly an eternity of slow running and or stops and starts, waiting for or sitting behind the Sunrail corridor trains, we finally managed to roll into Orlando, Florida, roughly 2 hours down from our original arrival time. Upon arrival at Orlando Union Station, I felt the whole place to be a bit alien, if not disorienting. You see, usually when you get off the train, you're met by cabbies who immediately try to sell you a ride to your hotel for a very good price, I find, 9 out of 10 times, as there's a lot of competition. In this case, there was no one except for other passengers, and the families of said passengers who had shown up to pick them up and take them home. Needless to say, because I didn't have any relatives in the area and I needed transportation, meant I was going to have to find a cab if I wanted to go anywhere. And this would prove a challenge, as again, there were just no cabs around, period. I eventually pulled my cell phone out and called a cab service I usually use when I'm down in Orlando if I need to get anywhere, because I never drive down. I always use public transportation or I take cabs. And the outfit I called basically did not pick up. I was basically sitting on hold for, I think it was plus 10 minutes or so. Then finally, after searching around the facility for a while, I managed to find a cab at the very edge of the property. Not sure exactly how I managed to catch him, but he just happened to be sitting there. I then quickly loaded my luggage into the back of his vehicle for fear of losing the cab, and we made our way to my hotel.
Okay, this is my room. A little trouble getting it. I see it is sealed here at this outfit. This is what they're doing to deal with the coronavirus situation. Pardon me while I drop my key in my bus schedule here. Good grief. Pardon the rough camera work, folks. I hope this isn't upside down. RFID, don't fail me now. And there it is. It's open. And here we are. Oh, ouch. Just got hooked up here. Ouch. Alrighty. And I'm hooked on again. Too many straps. Nice and cool here. It is 95 degrees, or 94 thereabouts here in Orlando. Okay. It seems a little bit smaller than what I had last time, but it's probably just the orientation. So this is my unit. Put this down here. Let me actually get my bags down. So far, I don't want to jinx myself, but knock on wood, I have all of my cables. I did misplace my eyeglass case, but it looks to be the worst of it. And I do have an issue apparently with my charger that doesn't work for my phone, but I have an emergency with me, so that shouldn't be a problem. Ooh. Okay, so now the next headache I got to deal with is transportation. I've just been informed it's somewhat lacking, but I found that there are actually quite a few more options than what I was told. So I'm going to have to read through this and make sure I know what I'm doing on this and just make it work like it should.
And indeed, transportation would prove to be a big issue on this trip. I will cover this more in the next part of this video.
Hey folks, I'm here. That's going to wrap up this portion of the video. I'll edit this together at one point.
Please don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, as it does help me out quite a bit. And as always, keep the metal side down.